Hello YouTube, here again with something I meant to get back to a while ago for the Minolta 16, the little, call them spy cameras, but they're not really, just a little pocket 16mm camera. I wanted to talk about slitting the film. There's sources for 16mm film. 16mm film, movie film, will work if you don't mind the perforations along at least one edge. I, however, wanted to try slitting my own film to re-roll in the cassettes, and this is what I did. This is a first try. I have used it. It did work, but probably I'm going to remake it. I'm not really happy with it. It was just a basic starting point. So I'm going to get right down to it. I made this to slit down 35mm camera film. This stuff right here. And it's not terribly efficient because you lose a lot. It is possible to get 2 strips, I think, out of this. Maybe this is not what I'm thinking of. No, I'm thinking of 120 film. In any case, I made this to slit down a 35mm film and get 16mm out of the middle. Now, how you want to do this is you want about 18 inches of finished film to load into the little tiny cassettes that those cameras take. So I made this, and this is hard urethane foam. I put over that, this is a black sticky backed felt I was able to find online, and I did the same with this part, which goes down here, and I draw the film in between. I'm not really sure I like the felt. I did find, after I slit some film, I ran it through the camera, I did find that there were some small scratches in different places on the film, and I can't really be sure if it was from this or from loading the film, handling the film, because there's a lot of handling involved. If you're going to reload those little cassettes, because they're about that big, it's a lot of handling, it's a lot of fiddling around. So again, this is a first try. It was not meant to be perfect. It was just meant to be a means to an end, and if I can get to the point where I shoot more film like I want to, I will remake this. But for anybody who's interested, this is what I did. Now, I took an extra long piece of 35mm film because you're going to need something to hang on to, and you're going to need some trim. So you want a finished product of about 18 inches. So what I did, this hard foam, I made 2 slits, 16, just a hair under 16mm. I don't have one of these particular blades handy, but I'll use this single edge. A single edge blade, or any blade, the cutting edge is very much wedge shaped. So as the film passes over it, it has a slight curl on either side, like you see in the movies with a ship going through the water. It's got that curl coming off the bow. Well, the film will do the same thing. So the spacing in between your 2 cutting blades, it's okay if it's a little bit under 16mm, because you're going to gain a little bit as it passes over the cutters just from that curling action. So if you space them out exactly, where's my little pointer thing? Not here. Okay. Well, in that case, if you space them out exactly 16mm from one surface to the next surface, you're actually going to wind up with something slightly over 16mm, and you don't really want that. That makes it pretty tight inside those Minolta cassettes. So if you go a little bit less than 16mm, you're going to be okay. So you've got your base. You take your 35mm film, Now we're in a dark room or in a dark bag. I did this in a dark bag, which was really kind of tough. But you get it started. You see how it's cut in there, and you might be, if the light is right, you might be able to see how it's riding up on the sides of those cutters. I took my top piece, I set it down so the film is in between the two felts, and all this, if you can see it, that's crud. I was doing a different project. I got shit all over the place. But this is dead film. I put my top over it like that. Hold it. I don't want to press down on it because I don't want to get any more scratches than absolutely necessary. You also don't want to lay your film over all the junk that I've got on my bench here. But as I said, we're pretending we're in a dark room. You get it started, put down the top, and with slow, steady pressure, in a straight line, draw the film through the cutters. And this is what you end up with. And then, again, in your dark room, you trim off the end. So that gives you your 16mm strip of film. You get the little, in junior high I had a teacher who, if these were out of a notebook pad, she would call these quigglies, but that's a different story. So there you have it. And if you feel along the edge, it might have looked a little crude, but the cut is very good. It's very smooth, it's very straight. And then you would take that and you would load it onto your spools in your little tiny cassette, which is kind of a trick. You gotta roll it up on one end, which is like totally easy. I hope that's on camera. So you start out there. We'll just pretend that this is rolled up tight. That goes in one side of the cassette. The other end would be taped to your take-up spool. And there you have it. That's really all there is to it. You just want to make sure you have the emulsion side facing towards the lens, and in this is the emulsion side. One thing that I learned is that if you get yourself confused about what's the emulsion side and what is not, go with the curl. The inside of the curl always faces towards the lens. And that is pretty much all I wanted to show you. I did this a couple times. It worked out very well. I had no issues. The images were of reasonably good quality, but you know, any that were not were my fault and not the fault of the camera. There's a little trick to using those Minolta 16s, and it comes with practice. So there you have it. Nice strip, cut down to 18 inches. I don't have one of the little cassettes, I can't show you that, and that is all there is to it. As I said, I'm not really happy with this design. This is very improvisational. You want very good. If you're going to spend any money at all, spend it on the cutters, because you want a nice, smooth, even, straight cut. You'll want to work with razor blades that are nicked, that have done a bunch of other work and may not be as sharp as they should be. I think the next one I make will actually be made out of polycarbonate, some thick polycarbonate, and I have a piece here. This is some waste material I picked up at work. Took it right out of the trash. I cut it down to 16mm, and I may have to narrow it down just a little bit to make sure that I don't go over 16mm. And this would be my centerpiece, and then I'd make holes. These blades, well, I'm not going to take the tape off. Those blades are just basically sitting in this urethane foam. The urethane foam is very sticky, so I can put those blades in there, tape it tight, and I know they won't move. If I use this, I would have to drill holes to correspond with the holes in the blades to hold them tight. But that's really not important. I just wanted to show you that. There you have it. You can make your own 16mm film. I recommend wearing gloves if you're going to use a dark bag, because my dark bag anyhow, as I'm in there working, the humidity builds up pretty quick and you wind up with almost damp fingers, and when you can't help it, you've got to handle the film. Sometimes that can come through on your negative. You have a perfectly exposed negative with a thumbprint right in the middle of it, so you want to avoid that if you can. I've taken to wearing gloves in my dark bag if I'm going to be in there for more than a minute. And that is all I wanted to show you. So until next time, sports fans,